What's up, ghosts and ghouls, and welcome back. If you're anything like me, Halloween begins the minute I start feeling like... Well, unfortunately, with global warming, once it gets about under 100 degrees, then you know it's about time. Halloween has been my favorite holiday ever since I could remember. If I could, I would dress up as a different character, object, or even group up with the gang. And today, I would like to show you a Halloween movie that I've loved since I was a kid that seems to be very underrated. Scary Godmother. This movie was originally a book written by Jill Thompson back in 1997. It was later made into a movie in 2003, and at first it was only released in Europe, Canada, Latin America, and Australia. But in 2004, America got this sweet gift, and ever since then I've been watching it every year. Now I can understand why a lot of people haven't seen this movie or don't even remember this movie. The movie went straight to TV and DVD, so it never went out to theaters, and there wasn't much marketing for it other than when Cartoon Network would let us know when it was going to be on. And real quick, let's settle this ranking here right now. Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel. You can fight me if you want to. But let's get into the spooky mood. So go get your snacks, let's get cuddled up, and let's watch this movie. So the movie starts out on Halloween night. Everyone's out already trick-or-treating. Everything's pretty normal.
Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! What is that?
So yeah, you can already kind of tell that the animation's gonna be a little wacky. I mean, look at how big this kid is compared to the store. Like, this kid is either a giant or everyone else is just living in short houses. This animation really reminds me of a game called Costume Quest, which is really good. It's a game about trick-or-treating, but you dress up in costumes and you gain the powers of the costumes. And you should try it, it's really good.
Not an ad!
Now we get introduced to our first characters, Katie, Daryl, and Bert. And as you can tell by their beady little eyes, they're little shits. Now, to be fair though, they are just following along this guy, Jimmy. So these kids all decide to meet up at their neighborhood cemetery. So here's where we get our main antagonist, Jimmy. And of course, he is dressed up as the devil. When I tell you this kid is on par, if not worse than David. But then we get introduced to our protagonist, Hannah. Why did they animate all of that? Like, she could have easily just walked around. But as you can tell, she's an angel since they actually give her eyes. Now, in the beginning, the kids are actually pretty nice towards Hannah. She even gives them full-size candy bars. But of course, for some reason, Jimmy doesn't take it because he can get it himself. I honestly would have left his funky ass behind. Now these kids are hyped to go out, get some candy, go trick-or-treating, but Jimmy is on some weirdo stuff. But during his monologue, he brings up monsters, which freaks out Hannah, and this is where we learn she is scared of monsters. She is so scared of them that just the word monsters makes her swing on everybody. Now she specifically uses her flashlight to fight off monsters, and they give us a whole flashback to tell us why she uses it, which really isn't a flashback, but the kids just reenacting what happened.
I'm just glad she's going with Daryl. He's so big and strong, he can take care of any monsters.
Monsters?
Ding dong.
Come on, honey. We both know Katie will look out for her.
Ding dong.
Don't worry, Pumpkin.
Daryl will protect you from the monsters.
Monsters?
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong already!
Here you go, honey. Monsters can't stand flashlights.
Hello, Jimmy. Oh, don't you look cute?
Thanks. Happy Halloween. Hannah ready? Come on, Hannah.
Which makes me think, how did they get this information if they weren't there? And what's even worse is if they did actually know this information, what they're about to do to Hannah makes it even worse. They finally get Hannah riled down and even make her feel brave enough to wander around the cemetery with her flashlight fighting off monsters. But while she's doing all that, Jimmy is over here concocting a plan to scare Hannah to make her run home. And these guys hesitated for like 0.5 seconds before they gave in. This girl gave you full-size candy bars, and she actually has eyes. You guys are jerks. So after they all come to an agreement, Jimmy gets right to work on his evil scheme. He basically just gaslights her.
I didn't find any monsters.
Good work, Hannah. You're not scared, are you?
Maybe a little.
You want to be a big kid, right?
So Jimmy tells her she needs to go trick-or-treating at this house on their block called the Spook House. Where the hell are they living to where their neighborhood not only has a cemetery, but a spook house all on the same street? All they need is the abandoned asylum, and they have real estate gold. The story of the Spook House is that, and now, this is all alleged, so do not come for me, but apparently a family did not leave candy out for the monsters and they were all eaten. And now to keep the monsters at bay, every year a new kid has to go down to the basement and leave candy for the monsters. Now Hannah is about to walk up in the Spook House, and to be honest, this house is really scary. Like, I would even be scared to go in this house at my grown age. The house has been abandoned for years. The furniture is still inside with drapes all over it. The floorboards are creaky. And let's not forget that there's a cemetery 2 doors down. And there's no goddamn way I'd be able to take myself down to the basement. Do you know what goes on down there? So Hannah marches her brave self into that house. And you know what really makes me mad? Katie, Bert, and Daryl always feel worried for her or show some kind of remorse for what they're doing. But all it takes is for Jimmy to be like, nah, she's good. And they're right back to traumatizing this child. But Bert points out the obvious to Jimmy and tells him that Hannah is standing on business. But Jimmy feels like this is not enough, sending a 6-year-old into an abandoned house next to a cemetery. He needs to turn up the notch. So he tells them they gotta mess with her some more. And you know what? Yes, Jimmy is a shithead, but he has a future in entertainment. He goes in there and whips out the hand shadow puppets. This boy would either go on to win America's Got Talent or locked up in Area 51, because what the hell? And let's not forget about his trash friends doing the vocals and stuff in the background. Like, oh my gosh, they made me even more mad than Jimmy did, because how are you gonna show some type of worriedness, some remorse, and then still do it? Didn't even take that much convincing at all. Like, how are you gonna act concerned but then look like this? But the whole goal was not to only scare her, but also get her down to the basement for some reason. Like those damn shadow puppets didn't already give her enough PTSD. But Hannah continues to be a baddie, and she takes herself onto that basement even though she's scared out of her mind. Like, all of this just to go trick-or-treating. I would just risk going by myself at this point. But she opens up that creaky door and chucks down a candy bar, and mission accomplished. But when she turns around, she notices that no one is there and goes into full-on panic mode and runs to the door. Now, I just want to have a little story time of my own really quick. When I was younger, about 6 or 7, around that age, just a little bean sprout, me, my mom, my aunt, and my cousins, for some reason my mom and aunt would like to go to the cemetery and just like hang out and read. So me and my cousins would just be like running around and playing. But my aunt and mom told us not to step on anybody's like gravestone or mess with anybody's grave, basically. Like, just don't step on it, don't touch it, don't do anything. And now that I'm older, I'm sure it's because it's just respect, you know? But they would tell us if we did, a spirit would follow us home. So one day we're all out and me and my cousins are playing tag or something. I don't really remember too much, but I remember tripping and falling on somebody's headstone. I wasn't like all on top of it, like barely my foot, like the corner of my foot was on it. And my cousins lost it and ran to my mom and aunt and told them that I fell on a gravestone. Again, they told us spirits would follow us home if we did. So they're all like freaking out, grabbing the stuff, getting into the car, and somehow they left me and my cousin behind. But my cousin was fast enough to run and get into the car because they started like driving away, but my cousin was fast enough to catch up. Full disclaimer, they weren't like driving off. They like were just like rolling down the street, and they were still in the cemetery. They didn't just like speed off and leave me. I could still see the car, they could see me. But I was like 6 or 7, and it was like, I don't want to say traumatizing, but I just remember running after the car, and then I lost my shoe and I just gave up. I gave up and sat down in the middle of the street and just started crying. Thankfully, they did come back for me and the spirit. They let us get in the car. But the only reason I wanted to bring this up is because I felt like I felt Hannah's pain right there in that moment, just like turning around and everybody's gone. But we get back to the movie. So Hannah chucks that candy down the stairs, turns around, notices nobody's there, and runs straight for the door. Now this part right here, man, I would have mollywop these kids. So Hannah runs to the door and she's trying to open it with all her might, banging it, pleading for help. And these little fart heads are on the other side holding the door closed. Well, Hannah gets so scared that she ends up just giving up and dies. Now, actually, she cries so hard that all the dust from the floor starts gathering up, which turns into a hat, and then that hat births a woman? Now, believe it or not, but seeing a woman pop out of thin air would scare me even more. But we can trust this woman. As you can see, she has eyes. And as I'm sure you guys have caught on, this is the scary godmother. So she gets right to work just trying to cheer up Hannah. She begins first by being birthed from the hat and then shoots out rainbow acid trip lasers where a ghost cat comes out of nowhere. Of course, that didn't work. So she strikes another pose and shoots out even more acid waves. But of course, you know, that didn't work the first time, so it wasn't gonna work the second time. So she does the most logical thing out of this whole movie. She sits next to Hannah and starts to fake cry. Now, I have done this before, usually when kids just be crying, because a lot of times they just be crying. Give them a good old fake cry and it usually works.
And that's a fact.
So, of course, Hannah falls for the old fake cry, and this is where she finds out she has a scary godmother. So Hannah lets scary godmother know that she's afraid of monsters. So scary godmother thought it was smart to kidnap this child and take her to a realm full of monsters.
Monsters? Boy, oh boy, are you in luck! Some of my best friends are monsters. Come on, I'll take you over to my realm in the fright side and introduce you. Let's go!
This is a warning to not let your kids go trick-or-treating alone. You can't have them traveling dimensions out here. So Hannah gets shot up into the sky and goes soaring through the clouds. And something about this little bit, just the art style and the animation, I absolutely love. It's like they took this scene right out of the book and just animated some clouds on top of it. Something about it just scratches my brain. Then all of a sudden, these big, scary pumpkin-shaped clouds with literal lightning inside of them start appearing. And Hannah's just big chilling on the broom. Weren't you just scared like 30 seconds ago? And this isn't doing it? But they go through those clouds and they get spit into the spooky realm. And honestly, this place feels a lot cozier than where she actually lives. But while Hannah dipped and went traveling through space and time, these little hellions are outside laughing it up, shook from their own prank. But as these kids do, they jump from one emotion to the next. They literally go from cackling to them being worried about her in like a split second.
You've been filling her head full of stories all night, Jimmy. She was so easy to scare.
We'll wait right here for her. She'll come out screaming any second.
Imagine this turns into a whole suspenseful like detective movie and they run back and tell their parents that she's gone and it just turns into a whole investigation. Honestly, this is probably where it should have gone, but alas. Now back with Hannah, she is with her scary godmother and she's about to meet her first monster, Scully. Now Scully is the scary godmother's brewmate, and yes, I said brewmate, and he's in the closet.
Oh my, scary godmother! Sorry to be so late, but I just had to get these old bones bleached for the party.
Now they're going to be throwing a party and Hannah isn't too sure if she wants to stay because she is scared of monsters. But Scully reassures her it's probably because she hasn't met any good monsters yet. And honestly, he explains this very well.
Scary Godmother said that there will be monsters at the party, and I'm scared of monsters.
Oh my! You just haven't met enough good ones yet. You see, Hannah, monsters are a lot like spiders. Some are real nice, Some are not so nice, but all of them are creepy and crawly.
You can say pretty much the same thing about people. But even his explanation scares her so much that she just passes out, straight dome to the ground, and not even a single person checked on her. Her scary godmother just looks at her and just goes straight into punking Sully. And then the minute that she sees her set up and is fine, she just starts going and blasting the room with decorations. Now, we're back to the real world. Why the hell does this kid have Hannah's face? And why is this kid grunting like this for some damn candy? But these doofuses are upset now because they're wasting time because Hannah's still inside. Well, they think she's inside and they haven't gone trick-or-treating yet. Other than Katie and Daryl, they kind of went a little bit. And instead of just going inside and getting her, Jimmy is pacing back and forth. Bert is driving and Katie and Daryl are just being ratchet. Well, we find out it's because they are also afraid of the monsters in the house.
Well. How the turntables.
So they even legitimately thought there was monsters in the house and they threw his baby cousin in there and trapped her inside.
Well, I just can't wait to beat your ass. That's right, bitch. I'm coming.
Now, while they're outside thinking Hannah's being torn apart by monsters, Hannah is actually in the spooky realm and she's about to meet her next monster. The next monster to arrive is Harry, and Hannah is, of course, absolutely terrified of him. And Harry's entire personality through the whole movie is just being a big back. The minute he comes in, he heads straight for the table.
Where are those wonderful smells emanating from? The goodie plate, I believe. You won't mind if I just sample the delicacies, do you?
Damn! God damn. I'm pretty sure Scully threw a fist in there too, but Scully is not playing this year because apparently last year he ate the whole damn buffet before the party even started. A whole buffet? But Scully was even able to get him to do dog tricks with the chocolate spider.
Good boy. Shake. Now, roll over.
Oh, please.
Roll over.
I will not degrade myself.
Over.
But Hannah finally gets the courage to come out and meet Harry, and this dude thinks that she is some famous actress in the spooky realm. And as he's praising her, he somehow already ends up with the damn snacks. It's only been 2 minutes since this man has been beat and then forced to do tricks, and he's already got the food. But he gets so excited between thinking Hannah is this famous actress and all this food that he just keeps talking and talking and talking. So much to the point where they teach us a recipe to shut someone up.
Here's a treat that's fun to make and helps you get a word in edgewise. Take 2 of your favorite crackers, spread one with jam, one with peanut butter, mush them together, and jam them into the mouth of the chattering werewolf. Voila!
No.
Honestly, when you think about it, I think this would kind of work. I think legally they had to tell you to put jam in there for some extra lubricant or something, because just 2 saltine crackers and peanut butter, like, oh my gosh, just thinking about eating a saltine cracker already sticks in your mouth. Eating 2 of them and then putting peanut butter on it, this is probably the one thing that's a contender to Popeye's biscuits. Now, after shoving that shut the fuck up sandwich in Harry's mouth, the doorbell rings, and when she goes to answer it, her eyeball is gone. Where's her eye at? Not integral to the story at all. Just wanted to point it out. Where's her eye at? But the next monsters to arrive are the vampire family. We have Count Max and Countess Ruby.
Max and Ruby. Ruby and Max.
And their son Orson. And of course Hannah is scared of them too, but at this point you think she would be over her fear. You think she'd be over it by now after being trapped in the spook house, a random woman appearing out of nowhere in front of her, being kidnapped, flying through lightning clouds, meeting a skeleton, and a werewolf. What is there to be afraid of at this point? But as everyone knows, for vampires to enter your home, you have to invite them in.
Why are they just standing there?
Oh no, that's right! Vampires can't enter a house unless you invite them in!
Really? That's very
demure, very mindful.
And I'm just gonna point out another weird animation because it is one of the reasons I really love this movie.
I'm thrilled to have the king and queen of the night grace my humble home.
What the hell is this? Who the hell greets someone like this? But I do want to sincerely apologize to Hannah real quick because her fear of monsters, it's pretty rational. Because the minute this vampire family enters, they try to eat Hannah.
Help yourselves to the food.
Scary Godmother!
Thankfully, the scary godmother was there because she would have been a goner. But, you know, as all party goes, kids just hang out with kids. So Hannah and Orson are getting to know each other. And while they're doing this, they felt the need to circle around each other. At least they're asking the hard-hitting questions.
Do you sleep in a coffin?
Sure, I've slept in my own coffin since I was 3. You mean you still share a coffin with your parents?
No! I mean, yes. I don't sleep in a coffin at all.
You're homeless?
Now the party is really starting to kick off, and Harry feels the need to harass the vampires. Now, if nobody likes this guy, why do they keep inviting him? He eats all the food, has no respect for anybody's boundaries, doesn't stop talking, and just doesn't listen to anybody at all. They made this dude do tricks for food, gave him the old-fashioned shut-up recipe, and now Count Max puts this dude to sleep. And I'm sure they gave him a stroke at the same time.
Harry?
Yes, Max?
Look deeply into my eyes.
Okay. Looking.
Now, cease your chattering and sleep.
Sleep? On an empty stomach? But I...
Call 911 now!
But while the party is really kicking off, the basement door starts banging around, and out pops a legitimate monster. And Hannah is, you know what? Honestly, I understand. She is freaking out. This one would have had me shook too. But this is just another one of Scary Godmother's broodmates, and his name is Bugaboo. But Hannah is for real scared of this guy, which I'm not gonna crap on her too much about it because he starts chasing her around the house. He tries calming her down by chasing her around the house, which then causes a whole Scooby-Doo chase scene with literally everybody in the house. But thankfully, Hannah remembered that she had the blicky and dives for it. And somehow it worked, not in the way that she thought it would, but somehow it still worked. It got everybody to stop, basically. But since Hannah is too scared of him, Bugaboo feels bad and feels like he needs to go ahead and just leave, which this shows Hannah that he's not a bad monster at all. So she finally chills out and they get to the real party. And when I tell you, you have not partied this hard, but a 6-year-old has, the house literally came off the foundation. But while they're in the spook house getting crunk, in the real world, Jimmy is outside wondering where's Hannah and why he hasn't heard her scream yet.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
You heard her scream plenty of times. She was even yanking on the door, pleading for help on the other side. What do you mean? This kid for real needs super nanny or something. But while Jimmy is finally getting worried, they're actually in the spook house getting down.
Make that ass shake like that ass is scared of me. All these other spooky dudes can't compare to me. October 31st, bitch, you know what I'ma be. Baby, bust down, I'ma be a hoe for Halloween.
Baby, bust down, I'ma be a hoe for Halloween. Hoe for Halloween, hoe for Halloween. Baby, bust down, I'ma be a hoe for Halloween. Hoe for Halloween, hoe for Halloween.
They party so hard that time just flies by. And even in the real world, people are starting to shut off their lights. Nobody's out on the streets anymore. Halloween is over. And when you think about it, why is nobody looking for these kids? There's 5 kids here, all with separate parents, and not a single parent is out there looking for their children.
That's weird.
But they finally start tweaking, and only because they missed Halloween. Not because Hannah hasn't come out yet, but because they missed trick-or-treating.
What are we gonna do? We've practically missed Halloween. This isn't funny anymore.
We've got to go in and get Hannah. She's got to be scared to death by now.
Oh!
But the way Jimmy just yeets her out his face. But again, Jimmy is like, nah, we're just gonna wait.
I'm the leader of this group, and I say we wait.
While they're outside waiting, it sparks a debate on who's the leader of the team. They first have a vote to see who's the leader, and of course everybody basically votes for themselves, which makes these two dingbats keep asking for a recount, which just sends Daryl into a spiral. But then they try to figure it out with a rock, paper, scissors game, but they all keep throwing rock. But thankfully, Jimmy is great at being a bad kid because he convinces them all to throw something other than rock. And somehow they all throw scissors, but Jimmy still goes ahead and throws rock, so he ends up winning, so he becomes the leader.
Look, wise guys, nobody is gonna win if we all do rock. Is that clear? Ready? Go! Ha! Rock beats scissors, scissors, scissors! I'm still the leader, and I rule, no more voting!
He was pretty much already the leader. He convinced his friends to bully his 6-year-old cousin, even after multiple times of them being like, no, we shouldn't do this. But with him being the leader, they continue to do what they've been doing. Nothing. Back in the spook world, it seems like Hannah has gotten over her fear of monsters, even so much to the point that Orson tries to eat her and she shows carrots on his teeth. Hopefully they were cooked, because that would hurt like hell. But while the kiddos are hanging out, all the adults are having adult talk, and Count Max is going off about how he misses when queens used to look like queens and all they want to do is show their ankles.
I remember when a vampire queen used to look like a queen. Me too.
Oh, Max, it's just a modern little frock.
Too modern and too little for my tastes. You can practically see her ankles.
But while he's going off on his boomerang, he accidentally snaps his fingers in front of the still sleeping Harry, which undoes the spell and wakes him up. And the very first thing this guy does.
So, as I was saying, snacks. Oh!
How y'all doing?
But thankfully, Scully had his eye out on him, so he kept him straightened out. So, the party continues, and the Count and the Countess start necking. But unfortunately, Scully gets distracted for just a split second and comes back to Harry lying on the table on broken glass and remnants of food. But now that everybody is hungry and Harry has already eaten all the food, they now have to figure out what they're gonna do. So they all decide to order some pizza. But with everybody shouting out the toppings that they want on the pizza, Hannah and Bugaboo both shout out olives. Hannah is still a little bit scared of Bugaboo at this point. But when they both shout out olives, Hannah is kind of confused.
You eat pizza with cheese and olives?
Yeah, I like olives, so?
I thought monsters ate little girls.
Oh, that's silly. Little girls make the crust all soggy. Just joking, kid. It's my job to scare kids, not eat them. If I went around eating all the clients, I'd be out of work.
Now back in the real world, the kids are starting to freak out, thinking that Hannah is actually inside dead, eaten up, torn up by the monsters. And it starts to honestly feel like they murdered her because Jimmy is like, we did what we had to do. But as they all start to fall apart, Jimmy tries to get them back together.
Oh my gosh, we've got to save Hannah from the monsters!
You save Hannah. I'm driving my SUV out of here before the monsters show up. Monsters? You gotta be kidding me! I'm too young to
I just want to know how nobody from across the street or next door didn't come over, because these kids were in front of this house screaming at the top of their lungs. But Jimmy the whole time just tries to convince them that monsters aren't real, while also being scared of monsters. Back in the spook realm, the pizza has finally arrived, but they made one vital mistake. They let Harry order the pizza. This guy orders 12 extra large pizzas at $197.
Tip not included.
And not only that, he didn't even have a single penny to pitch in at all. Baroque. So this dude comes over, eats everything, yaps everybody's ear off, and then takes advantage to get more free food. Why do they keep inviting this guy? So since they don't have the money, the pizza delivery guy offers her to sell her soul for the pizza, which for 12 pizzas, there ain't no way I'm doing it. But now if we're talking about unlimited pizza for the rest of my life, But they figured they should probably look through Bugaboo's fur since, you know, he's always under beds. They could probably find some change in his fur. And they do this in the most disrespectful way possible. They just sneak up on dude and just start grabbing all over him. Like, dude, you could have asked first, you know? Like, hey. But they end up finding some crazy stuff for a monster that hides under beds. Like, is that a damn anvil? And not only that, they actually find all the money. Hannah finds a damn $50 bill. What kid just has a $50 bill under their bed? Bugaboo must be dealing with the rich clientele because that kid has more money floating around under his bed than in my account. But thankfully they find all the money they need in Bugaboo's fur, and thankfully they're able to get all the pizza. But Harry decides he wants to try to sneak off with it. There's no goddamn way I would ever invite this dude back over ever again. But thankfully the scary godmother snatches him up so fast and ends up divvying out the pizza. And this is how you know this lady is a saint, because even after everything he has done, she still left him with one whole pizza. I would have showed him the damn door. But funny enough, Scully he's over it. He's tired of this dude, so he ends up taking his pizza.
It's turned to ashes in my mouth.
Oh, that's mine then. I had half ashes, half green peppers.
That was
But while Hannah and Bugaboo are bonding over some pizza, she realizes that it's getting really late and she should probably do the thing that she came here to do, and that's feed candy to the monster in the basement so he doesn't come out and eat everybody. And we all know the monster in the basement is Bugaboo. But as Bugaboo explained earlier, he does not eat his clients and asks where she gets this idea from. And Hannah lets him know about her cousin Jimmy, and he racks his brain and realizes Jimmy is one of the kids that he scares every Thursday. So scary godmother concocts a plan and thinks that it's time to teach these kids a lesson.
Kill him. Kill them all.
But back in the real world, the kids are still sitting outside waiting for Hannah to come out, and they're still all very concerned for themselves. They do not want to get in trouble. But since Jimmy is the leader, he demands all of them to go inside without him.
This is big brain time.
But of course they're like, nope, I'm not doing that. So he demands that they all go together. But again, they're like, no thank you. So he eventually is like, I gotta go get her. I'm gonna need to go in there at some point. And for some reason, when he decides to go in, Daryl is like, you know what? I'm gonna go with you too. And then Katie's like, well, I'm not gonna leave without Daryl. And Bert is the only smart kid. He's like, I'm not going in there. Thankfully, this is not a real scary movie because Bert would be the first one gone. But somehow Jimmy gets them all to go in together. When they walk in, you can see Scully under a sheet pretending to be a lamp, and Orson is just standing in the middle of the room. Now I don't understand how they didn't immediately start freaking out when there's just this random creepy kid standing in the middle of the room and his cousin is like nowhere to be found. I personally would have been scared as hell. But they all just start chit-chatting and Orson is straight up like, I'm a vampire. But of course they think he's talking about his costume. So they just start talking about their costumes. And it's like, didn't we come in here to get Hannah? Like they're just sitting here just having a lovely conversation. But Jimmy starts doing what he does best and he starts to bully Orson, saying that he's not a real vampire. And this is what starts off the Fright Fest. Jimmy picks on Orson, so Orson says that he's gonna tell his parents on him, which brings out the Count and the Countess. And they begin the scaring by backing them up into the lamp, which we know is actually Scully under a sheet. They tried turning on the lamp and find out that it's actually a walking skeleton, but for some reason they don't get scared because he does a whole dance. So he tries something new. It goes to shake Katie's hand and just falls into a pile of bones. And that apparently was so goddamn scary because even Katie's tonsils were screaming. But they end up running off and running straight into Harry, and Harry ends up doing a whole like monologue, Shakespearean act.
Oh yes, howl, howl, aren't I frightful? Rend, tear, fold, mutilate.
Not even that scary at all, until he sees Daryl dressed up as a piece of candy, and those big back tendencies just pop right back up, and he literally hops on Daryl's back.
Candy!
I'm honestly concerned for Daryl. Now it's the scary godmother's turn and she comes in and convinces them to go down to the basement because it's safe down there. Which actually does save Daryl's life because it ends up knocking Harry off of his back, which now that I think about it, we gotta study this kid because how the hell was he carrying a 600-pound werewolf? So now they're all hiding in the basement, just saying that they're gonna stay there until the sun comes up when it's safe for them to leave. And then they start arguing about who's gonna tell Hannah's parents that she's dead. But in the middle of their conversation, they get interrupted by Bugaboo, and he scares the eyeballs out of them. Literally. But the grace of a light shines through and comes to save the day, and it turns out to be Hannah. So they all yeet it upstairs and hide behind a 6-year-old with a flashlight.
You gotta be ashamed of yourself. Old as you is.
So Hannah's bad bitch self leads these doofuses through the house and shines her blicky on everybody and gets them out. Except for the scary godmother. She does whatever this is.
Stop it. Get some help.
And with that, Hannah saves the day and gets all the kids out of the house. But before she goes, the scary godmother gives her a key and says that if she puts it into any door, it would lead her right to the spook realm. But even towards the end, Jimmy still puts on a tough guy act. And Harry, well, Harry keeps asking for food, so.
I could do it better.
Any pizza left? What? No, it's hungry work. I've built up quite an appetite. It's not easy scaring people, you know. Oh, no, please don't come any closer. Bugaboo, I'll fight you.
But honestly, now I'm concerned for Harry, because I'm pretty sure they all had enough and I'm pretty sure they jumped him. And that's where this movie ends, with Harry getting his ass beat. And that was The Scary Godmother, a 10 out of 10 movie that has captivated few. I've always loved this movie, and I don't even think I would classify it as a movie that's so bad that it's good. It's just a good movie. I just really like the animation and the writing. They even make horrible punny jokes somehow funny. Yeah, Disney Channel had Hocus Pocus, Twitches, Halloween Town, but nothing could compare to Cartoon Network, and not just during Halloween. I do recommend everybody adding this to the list of their fall movies. I will put the link to the full movie down below. There's also a second one called Scary Godmother, Revenge of Jimmy. If you guys want to watch that, let me know. Now, if you don't want to end up with beady eyes like these punks, I suggest you hitting the like and subscribe, because us stinkers, we get real eyes. But as always, I appreciate you guys coming and watching. You guys have a spooky day. Bye!